up, fuzzball.
From Down Under.
Do. Or do not. There is no try.
G'day, mate. How you going?
Or do not.
The Fantha. Oh, g'day, mate. How you going? This is Adam O'Brien, the Fantha from Down Under, coming to you live from the Gold Coast in Australia from Quinlan's Cantina. It's been a very busy couple of weeks since episode 1. We have gone out and seen the brand new Star Wars film directed by Ron Howard, and is of course Solo, a Star Wars story, and happy to say it is a fantastic film. We're not going to spoil any of that on this podcast today, but we will have some reactions from our three amazing guests that are coming on. So tonight we've got Vanessa Marshall, who plays Hera Syndulla of Star Wars Rebels, coming on to chat about her thoughts on the film and her work in general and her love of Star Wars. We also have Jeremy Beckett, a dear friend of the show, lives here in Australia, in Brisbane, who's going to come on and chat about his thoughts on not only the film but Star Wars world as well, and it's quite an entertaining chat. Those two chats are going to be part 1 of 2, so you'll be able to catch up with their other part in episode 3, which will be out in a couple of weeks' time. And we also have Grayson, a dear friend also from Fandom Podcast Network, who's an amazing model maker as well, coming on the show to chat about his thoughts on Solo. He absolutely loves it as well. And, well, what's my reaction? Well, I absolutely love the film. I went in with, I suppose, expectations of most of us, not knowing really what we're going to get from a Solo story. Han Solo is so beloved and so well, acted by, I suppose, Harrison Ford, that where do you take it? You know, where is this story going to come from? Well, it goes back to the character itself, and the Kasdans, both Lawrence and John, have really written a story that I think is giving us something new, but also at the same time something that feels very natural. And that's what I love about it. I was pleasantly surprised by quite a bit of the film, and that's not just the reveal at the end, which we won't mention. You've got to go and see for yourself. But the film itself, the design, I think the biggest surprise for me was the world of Corellia. It's not exactly how I pictured it, and we'll go into that with some of our chats today, but for me, when I saw Corellia, I always thought that it would be huge skyscrapers and, very pristine sort of society that they had. But I really think what they've got is an industrial version of Camino, and it really works. I mean, particularly for where Han is in his life. And, of course, Lando was so well done. The film itself really gives, I suppose, the Millennium Falcon its Batman Begins style origin in some ways. Is fantastic. I really liked seeing where, I suppose, that stage of where the Millennium Falcon was. Again, this is a ship that's probably had a much longer history, just like Chewbacca. You know, maybe that ship's a couple hundred years old. You never know, not quite as hairy as Chewbacca. But without a doubt, it is a really, I think, fast-paced, hard-hitting, and underworld-driven film, which ticks all the boxes and really feels like, for me, a natural beginning for Han Solo, and I'm sure we're going to have many more of them. But anyway, let's get into it here to chat about their thoughts on Solo, a Star Wars story. These three amazing guests. Let's get into the episode. Hey there, Fantha Trackers. Next up here is Grayson from Fandom Podcast Network, a great host and a great model maker too. You can check out his stuff on Instagram. It is amazing, the work that goes into his photography with models. Check it out. Welcome, Fantha Trackers. I got my pal all the way from the United States of America, Grayson from Fandom Podcast Network. Mate, how are you?
Oh, wonderful. How about you?
I'm really good, mate. Hey, you've just seen Solo, haven't you?
Yes, I did.
And I've got to say, I think we're on the same beat here. We love this movie.
Yes, I really enjoyed the movie. I I went in with no expectations, and I absolutely loved it.
And this is a movie that, for me, feels like the old Brian Daley novels.
Yes, and I could tell that there was a couple of, I don't know who wrote, it was the Lando Calrissian novels.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot who wrote those, but I heard a couple of little words here and there when he was recording it, and I was like, oh, that's really cool. I like that.
Oh, it's brilliant, wasn't it? Like, what I love too is that there's little Easter eggs here and there if you listen to it. Like, if you look really deep into some of those scenes here and there, and some of them are pretty right in front of you. Some are a little bit harder to find.
Oh yeah, absolutely, and it was just a really great movie.
Mm-hmm. What did you think about Corellia?
It wasn't what I expected at first, but I liked it. I mean, when you see that humongous Star Destroyer tower just being lifted up, I was like, "Holy cow, that's huge!" But it was brilliant. I mean, I really, really enjoyed it.
Same here. I looked at some of those scenes and I'm thinking, is this Camino again? Except they just haven't been paying their power bill.
And it's really funny. I never knew the Empire had a station on Corellia. I thought it was an independent world, but I guess I read that wrong.
Well, yeah. I mean, to me, it almost felt like the first J.J. Abrams Star Trek film where they're making the Enterprise and other Starfleet vessels on the ground. I always imagine them being the shipyards being in space.
Oh yeah, that's right. I remember that. And the funny thing about it is I really didn't have a problem with that. I mean, I just thought it was just cool just to be able to see Corellia finally. I mean, that's the one thing I've always loved about watching any Star Wars movie is just seeing how unique all the different planets can be.
100%. One of the interesting things I always thought too that we maybe see a little bit more of Wobble on Corellia, whether it's an uncle of Han's or maybe if we see, say, I don't know, something to tie to a family there. But I like that they kept that mysterious. We do get a drawback to somebody that he knew. I think they talk about his father, but there is sort of swept under the carpet. Both Lando and Han get to talk about their parents in a way.
Yeah, didn't what was it? Lando said his sister.
Yeah,
or his mom.
I think it might have been his mum. I think it was his mum, and with Han, it was his father. Was some type of pilot, but never amounted to anything. And something's obviously happened to the family because he's on his own.
Yeah, and I think what was in the Lego game? It was his. Was it Rando Calrissian?
Yeah, Rando. Yeah. But I mean, we know what we want for Han. We'd want somebody in there from Scotland going, Junior.
Now that would have been really funny.
And I've even got the name for it. You're going to love this. Thraken Sean Solo.
Oh yeah, because in the Corellian trilogy, he was like his uncle or a estranged.
Yeah, it looks like a strange cousin or something like that. Yeah, Thraken Solo. But if you got Sir no, actually, let's say it right. It'd be Thraken Sir Sean Solo. Yes, listen here, Han. Just leave the keys to the Corellian Corvette on the Bundstar.
Hey, and you did see the Corellian Corvette on Corellia, right?
Yes, I did. Absolute thing of beauty.
Yes, I that was the one thing I wanted. It made me. I don't know about you, but when I watched the movie, I saw certain things, or I saw like certain ships, or even like characters. And I'm like, oh, I want to buy that, or like that AP hauler.
Oh yeah,
that was just so cool.
I mean, and it's just a cargo ship, and we're talking about something that picks up the ATSTs and the AT-ATs and drops them off. That's all it is.
Yeah. I mean, I was just like, I want to buy that. I definitely want to buy that.
Well, I've just had to arrive here today in my hot little hands. The official guide by Pablo Hidalgo and The Art of Solo by Phil Sotak. So, I love that We've got, the books by Phil and Pablo are really heavily detailed into this universe. But I'll say this, they've saved some of the surprises, so you don't get all the little reveals just yet if you haven't seen the movie. So see the movie first before you read these.
Yes, because there's some surprises in that movie which I was not expecting, and I was thoroughly excited and extremely happy.
That's right. Look, let's talk about it. The elephant in the room, Jar Jar Binks has returned. That's right. He's in this movie, and he's a smuggler. And he became a heavy smoker, too. I couldn't get over it. He was smoking all those Carillion cigars.
Oh, my goodness gracious.
Misa smuggler! Misa got Carillion Corvette! Me!
Yeah, I still am not spoiling anything for anyone because I know how that can be.
Yeah, no, we're not going to do that, folks, because you got to go and check it out. And no, Jar Jar Binks is not in this film, even though, you know what? He can go in that film if he wants, mate. It's all good. It would have been a bit of light-hearted entertainment.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that was the one thing I loved about Solo is that you actually see the world building. At the end of the movie, honestly, I'm ready for another movie.
Oh, same here. So I think that's a natural progression that we're definitely going to get it. Word is we're getting a Kenobi film next, as the next to the Star Wars story line, and Ewan McGregor's even been seen getting fit. So it could mean he's going to be boxing in some Tusken Raider heads and being out there on the villages of Tusken area or in the areas of Tatooine and defending the villages.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything like that, and I'm not going to speculate anything. It's just, I've come to the realization that I just want to go and enjoy a great movie, and I have been doing that, and it's been really good. It really has been.
It has. Now, where can the folks catch your show, catch you to check out your amazing camera work when it comes to models and a lot of the G.I. Joe stuff you do, and you have a book that you're plugging?
Yeah, actually, I was part of Kindle Worlds, and Kindle Worlds actually is no longer accepting new submissions, unfortunately, because they're shutting down, but there was a G.I. Joe section, and often there's have wrote and written several different G.I. Joe stories. And so definitely if you want to check that out, please do, because Kindle Worlds will be shutting down sometime in June. I'm not for sure when, but if you are a fan of G.I. Joe or other different story genres and everything, be sure to check it out because it's really cool and they will not be available anymore after that.
Definitely. So, folks, go and check it out. Also, check out Fandom Podcast Network, where you'll find myself and, of course, Davis over there with Couch Potato Theatre.
Indeed. And if you want to follow me on social media, it is on Instagram. It is Springer_2017.
There you are, folks. Go and check it out, and we'll be up next with our next segment. Next up here, Fantha Trekkers, is part one of our chat with Vanessa Marshall, Hera Syndulla of Rebels, here to chat about her background in voice work, her love of Star Wars, and you're going to learn a little bit of her work on other franchises. Welcome to Fantha Tracks, the Fantha From Down Under, the podcast coming to you from fanthatracks.com from Australia, where we look at Star Wars, and today we're joined by the wonderfully talented and amazing Vanessa Marshall, the voice of some of your favourite characters in Star Wars, Marvel, DC, and as I've just found out, I'm amazed to find out that she's in the Dune universe as well. Vanessa, welcome to the show.
That's right. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
It's amazing the amount of things that you think you may have heard the voice of one of your favourite voice actors or actors in any whether it's a show, film, you name it. In this case, I was playing this game Dune. Dune 2000 and Emperor Battle for Dune years ago. and the voice of some of the computers and many other things, and it was actually yourself.
That's right. Yeah. I'll never forget that. That was one of my first jobs, and man, did I have fun doing that one.
It's a great game.
Yeah, they couldn't find. There was one voice that I did, and I'm not sure. I think it was one of the alien voices, and it's they couldn't find anyone to do it, and I was there to record. I think like you said, the computer voice, and I said, well, let me have a go at that. And it work it out for me. I think it was something like this, some low growl, something like that. And of course, it scared the casting people. They were like, "That's perfect. Get in the booth." So
it's
ended up working. Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
And obviously, the one thing that we take away, we always take the characters are so strong with it. So, I mean, you've worked on, obviously, a lot of Star Wars as well. People probably aren't, in the know that you actually worked on some of the original Star Wars games from LucasArts, like Star Wars, Jedi Knight, Outcast.
Yes,
Jan Ors.
I believe, Jan Ors, and I think there was a Knights of the Republic as well. I played a Jedi, Bella Quicks, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Something like that. But Jan Ors was really, really cool. That was the first one that I had booked, and of course I fangirled out on that. That was a real honor. And I had all kinds of friends who, were playing the video game, and they were like, wait a minute, is that you? So that was my first experience of that. It was really fun.
It's so good. I mean, a lot of us see too that where to fit these stories in to the movies and stuff like back then, but I didn't see any different. I saw the adventures were all the same. The characters were going right up against Princess Leia and all the characters of Han Solo and everyone else. And I loved it, especially like the Cole Katan journey with Jan Ors, the whole group back then. That was a phenomenal time in the canon.
Absolutely, yeah. I'm sort of hoping that that's where the television show will go, honestly. Like, if it were to go to any part in the Star Wars saga, that's one that I'd love to know more about.
Oh, yeah.
That's one time period. Yeah, that would be very cool. I wonder, I was talking to a friend of mine, we were sort of guessing where will they go, and I was hoping that they would go further into that. But we'll see.
There's so much there. I mean, look, there's always been talk of, I think out here in Australia, I don't know how far these rumours went back in the days when GL was still, planning some type of live action project for TV. Yeah. And I remember they were talking about it's going to be very much a underworld, like a Goodfellas almost, or a Godfather in the Star Wars universe. Obviously, it would head to Hut Space, maybe. I don't know. Smugglers, scoundrels, all the fun stuff.
That's awesome. I like it.
Which I thought, that's right up there. And I think I know an actress that could definitely, actors in general that should be involved in that. So, Vanessa Marshall,
That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, you think about it. Some of these great ideas that we've had, whether it's gone to novels, it's gone to the video games, they can really be explored in a television environment.
Absolutely.
It's just
absolutely
huge.
Yeah. I mean, I'm thrilled that they're doing that, and I think who better? We've got Jon Favreau, and then the folks from Game of Thrones. It doesn't get any better, really.
Oh, it's
that's awesome.
Brilliant. I mean, really, television's opened up, a lot of avenues for some great storytelling. I heard you're a massive fan of Clone Wars as well.
Oh, yes, definitely. For sure. Yep.
Wow.
Yeah. I love that show. I have so many favorite characters from it. It's hard to even pick. But I know when I met Ashley Eckstein for the first time, I completely sobbed. Just from when that scene where she leaves the Jedi Order still makes me cry to this day. I think it's one of the finest moments in animation. Oh, it was so gripping. And so that when I actually met her, I couldn't contain myself.
Oh, she's wonderful. Yeah. Absolutely wonderful. It's such an emotional journey, particularly in that fifth season. And
Yes.
When we got to that bonus, that sixth season, it was a hole in my heart for where is Ahsoka? It didn't feel the same.
Yeah, I literally could not keep it together. I was able to be professional most times, but when she walked in, because of course she was playing Fulcrum, for us in Rebels, and she came in to record her lines, and I tried as hard as I could to, keep my cool, but I couldn't help it. I was just so happy to meet her, and just wanted her to know how much she meant to me. And the way they fleshed out Anakin's character, it really helped me understand Darth Vader so much more.
Oh yeah.
As I then, went through the subsequent films and I was able to rewatch them with all that in mind. That's why one of my favorite scenes in Rebels is when Ahsoka battles Darth Vader and his mask sort of gets ripped and you see Anakin's eyes underneath. Oh my gosh.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, really a powerful moment. Really powerful.
And I loved Kevin Conner's music behind that too. I mean, that's just so give it such gravitas,
Absolutely, yeah. He did such a great job all throughout the series. I thought the Thrawn music was epic, and even in the fourth season when the wolves are fighting Governor Price, the way the drums are beating through that whole section. I mean, every single thing was scored perfectly to really maximize dramatic impact. It was just excellent. He's a genius.
He is. I was talking to a fan the other day, and we were talking about the effect Clone Wars and obviously Rebels as well has had, not just on the fandom, but the story structures and how you can tell an effective story, whether it's in one episode or 3 or 4 brought together in a larger arc. And there's only one thing we thought of that was close to it, and that's the old NPR radio dramas.
Yeah. Good point. Good point. Absolutely. Those are equally as powerful, for sure.
Oh,
yeah,
100%.
I didn't think of that.
Because I've always thought, there's always that avenue. When the fandom heard that Clone Wars was winding down at the time, or, any series for that matter, the amount of talent and, work that you guys do in the voice and ADR departments and stuff like that could easily be geared toward, if they don't want to animate it, bring us the voice work in audio dramas, because I love the work that you guys do. It's so visual in your mind.
Yeah. I agree. It's pretty powerful. It's amazing. And, it's funny. I went to drama school, and some of the best work that I did there was with Commedia dell'arte mask. Our teachers would allow us to wear these masks, and we could sort of embody these archetypal characters. But I always felt so much more free to communicate behind the mask. I think I chose voiceover because I prefer sort of the invisibility of it. And, it doesn't matter what you look like. You really can just use your imagination and play. And I thought it was so interesting that even in drama school, the most fun that I had and the most free I ever felt was when I was essentially invisible, or you couldn't see my face at any rate. But it's amazing how much impact one can have even without the visual elements of acting, with simply using one's voice, that it certainly can pack quite a powerful punch for the listener,
Oh, without a doubt. I think it's, when you look at the sensory of the audio experience itself, particularly if I'm listening to something, whether it's a podcast or whether it's an audio drama. I have been listening to some of the NPRs recently, and one of the things is, I think there's no budget for the visuals in your mind when you listen to something like that. So it just really drives it out of you, I think.
Absolutely, yeah. That's a good point. Yeah.
It does.
Yeah.
But also the fact that, too, obviously you've worked on Star Wars Rebels as Hera Syndulla, one of my all-time favourite characters. We're talking about a character that, I think I got to know better in the first season along the lines of John Jackson Miller's first book there, with really giving us a sense of where these characters came from.
A New Dawn, boy. Wasn't that just amazing?
Oh, wow. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, for sure. I love that book. I had such a great time reading that.
That was amazing. It's almost like he got your, the intonations of your work and Freddie's as well, as Kanan, down to a T. Like, you read it, but I was reading as if you guys were actually voicing those lines.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, I could feel her as well. I learned so much from that. That really helped me understand her keen ability to really seek out the essential people for her mission. She was just so discerning and really, I don't know, just so focused on the task at hand that nothing distracted her. I was really impressed.
And obviously, she's almost like not just a hero and leader. She's really a mother of this amazing ship and cast of characters. What's some of the amazing things that you saw when you first got the role?
What are some of the Say again?
What are some of the things that you loved? Seeing this character do when you first got the role.
Well, it's interesting. I didn't know what it was because it was called Wolf. They didn't actually say that it was a Star Wars cartoon, but they did mention a light sword and the cause and some of these other things that, as a Star Wars nerd, I was kind of like, first of all, this is called Wolf, and that makes me think of Dave Filoni. But it's Disney. I'm not sure if this could ever really be Star Wars, but I'm going to use my knowledge of the Star Wars universe to make specific choices. And I also thought about a few things going on sort of in our world today that mirror the themes, I guess. And I just made some very specific choices and emailed it off and let it go and hoped for the best. And then I got a call back, and I walked in, and there was Dave Filoni. And at that point, I realized, particularly when I saw the image of the Twi'lek on the wall, I just thought, okay, this really is Star Wars. Okay, very good. And I just went for it, and I'm so grateful that I booked it. But I loved every single moment of playing Hera, so it's hard to distinguish one that I loved more than, the whole thing was just like a magic carpet ride, a dream come true. My favorite episode would probably be Wings of the Master, where she gets to fly the B-Wing, and we also learn sort of what the value of flight is for Hera and sort of why it's so significant for her and what motivates her and drives her to sort of look upwards and get that perspective and kind of her spiritual backbone, if you will. And a little bit of a sense of her history in Ryloth growing up and what it was like for her. But I got to say, every moment was a joy. So, yeah, it was, I just have to pinch myself. It was so awesome.
Oh, it's amazing. What I love, too, is that they've really married up well the story of her father as well from Clone Wars, and then bringing that into Rebels. It gave not just a renewed appreciation of what Hera's been through in the past, but of what she's really driving for is something her father was trying to drive for too. Yeah,
exactly. And I was really grateful that they brought him into Rebels and that they had their sort of, they had their differences and managed to overcome them. And I think that gave us insight into both characters, which was really satisfying.
Oh, without a doubt. And obviously this grew on the community outside of the show itself so much that we see a certain appearance of a ship, and we actually get to see your voice in the amazing film Rogue One, A Star Wars Story as well.
Yes, that was amazing. I remember I was emailed a picture of an American pilot and a line, "I see you, gold leader," and I was told to voice match this woman, and she sort of had a voice down in here, kind of down in there like that. She was a little more, say, masculine. So she sounded not a lot like Hera. And so I sent off 3 takes of the line and didn't think much more of it. And then my agent emailed me back, oh, by the way, you're going to be voicing one of the pilots in Rogue One. I thought, what? So, yeah, it had nothing to do with Hera. And then when I went to the Friends and Family screening for Lucasfilm, I saw David Collins as I was walking in, and he told me, oh, by the way, I paid your character in the movie, and of course didn't believe him. I thought he was just being facetious and ridiculous because, like, yeah, right. But then when it actually happened in the film, I started crying. And, I mean, I was just blown away. I had to see the movie like 5 times to be able to focus again, because that kind of took me out of the film. Like, what? And afterwards, I went up to him and I hugged him and I said, hey, man, thanks. I appreciate it. I really thought you had to have been kidding. But, yeah, I mean, I had seen in the trailers, I had seen the ghost and I had seen Chopper, but, I just thought that they were about, but I didn't know that she would actually be mentioned. So that was amazing.
Alrighty, Fantha Trackers, get ready for part 1 of our chat with a dear friend of the show, that is Jeremy Beckett, here to chat about his thoughts on Solo, a Star Wars story, and Star Wars universe, here on the Fantha From Down Under. Welcome to Fantha Tracks, the Fantha From Down Under, live from the Gold Coast in Australia, and joining me here in Australia from Brisbane is a dear friend of the cast, and that is, of course, a dear friend of Fantha Tracks itself and part of the team. That is Jeremy, mate. How are you?
I'm very well. Hi, Adam. Hello, Fantha Tracks podcast listeners.
And we're here today to talk about, of course, a film that I think is going absolute gangbusters with a lot of the fandom. We're absolutely enjoying this new addition to the mythos, and that is, of course, Solo, a Star Wars story.
Wait, what? I thought we were here to talk about Rogue One.
That's right, folks. We're here to talk about Rogue One today. No.
Oh yeah, I love these Star Trek films. They're great. Live long and prosper. No, I really enjoyed Solo. Refreshing, different movie to what we've seen before. There's actually, I'm struggling to rewrite my top 5 Star Wars movies. It's slotting in there. I don't know what order it's going to be. There's a couple of shared positions. I don't know. It's a hard one. I really enjoyed it though. To be honest, I was just thinking about this now. There's a couple of elements in Solo I'd really have liked to have seen in Rogue One. So, without trying to spoil anyone's viewing of it, if you haven't already, the muddy planet where we saw some new uniforms and a certain character was introduced, that World War I style setting I'd love to have seen on Scarif.
Oh, wow. You've nailed it. That would have actually set it off.
Yeah, that would have made Rogue One right up in my top 1 or 2 Star Wars movie list. Yeah, but yeah, we're not here to talk about Rogue One. We're talking about Solo.
Definitely.
Rogue Solo. Yeah.
Well, yeah, and of course the planet, which we won't give too much away, is actually one that you may have seen in the expanded universe.
From the very first expanded universe.
Yeah, Alan Dean Foster's Splinter of the Mind's Eye, and what I love about this too is that it's so muddy you can't even see the sky. I mean, it's
well, the sky's the same color as the ground, isn't it?
It really is, and you nailed it. It kind of feels like those trenches of World War One, pretty much.
But you know what I remember most about Splinter of the Mind's Eye was Luke Skywalker dialing his lightsaber down to use it as a lockpick.
Oh yeah, true.
That's the strangest use of a lightsaber ever.
That's right. That's right. I also remember, just some of the things towards the end of that novel with, spoiler warning for those that haven't read it, but you've had 30 plus years. But of course, Darth Vader makes his first appearance with Luke in the same scene, and Princess Leia.
So the family was reunited.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting that it's probably at a time where even GL had no inclination to make that, be the father of, Luke Skywalker and Princess Leia.
Careful, you didn't call spoiler announcement there.
Yeah, I should have done that. Yeah. But what's interesting too is that, I think even, we all know Han Solo is from Corellia, and yes, you folks are going to be able to see Corellia in this. But I love that the design wasn't what I thought in my mind's Corellia.
No, it wasn't how I pictured Corellia either. I was expecting a much more modern cosmopolitan environment and not the industrial world that we saw.
Yeah.
Reminded me of South Wales in the 1970s.
Yeah, actually, you know what? One of the things I thought was that when we came out of the cinema, one of my friends who was with us at the time, he said, kind of feels like if Camino had no power for about 20 years and they just started to try and churn up the old, oil-powered lamps and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's like a grungy version of it.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, no, definitely. It was something we haven't seen before. I liked the way it was depicted. Some of the big structures that were moving around in the background and you could see in the sky as well, that made me really smile.
Oh, same here. What I was really, from the first point of the film, worried about was, first of all, just Han Solo himself, but Alden, I have to say, has gone beyond my expectations and made it the character his own. Yeah.
No, I'm going to struggle now watching A New Hope and not picturing, or particularly hearing Alden's voice. It was more flatter, drier drawl, and I think he captured Solo very well.
Yeah, and it's kind of like as we sort of indicate in the the start of the film. He's that he's not as cocky as he is in A New Hope. He's still cocky, but there's also a sense of hope about him that he's going to get out of this life.
Yeah, well, I think as he consigns himself to the direction he's going to take, there's some surety in his character, and he doesn't turn to the dark side, but he certainly turns to the jack of all trades side, doesn't he?
Oh, he certainly does. I mean, but it's all out of love. I think one of his big things that he has here, his Achilles heel, is women. His lovers of his life. The two things, the Millennium Falcon, and of course in this one, Kira.
Yeah. No, well, linking Kira and the Millennium Falcon together with the troubles he's had with the Falcon and women in subsequent movies, the best touch point of the whole of Solo was the scene where Kira and Han were in Lando's cloakroom, and I don't mean the smallest room in the house, I mean the room that he hung his cloaks in. And if you think of what happened between Han and Leia in Empire Strikes Back, it's the same room. It is too. Yeah, true. I was really pleased with that. There's some really, really excellent touch points in that whole movie. You got two tubes appearing. You see why the Falcon goes from being, practically an off-the-floor model to a junker derelict in the space of a short period of time when Han picks her up. It's very, very pleased with that movie. He literally junks it in 12 parsecs. Spoiler warning. Yes. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and what did you think of the mentor character of Bennett? Oh, sorry, Beckett. Beckett. Yeah. Well, aside from sharing a name with the guy, Woody Harrelson played a very cool part in that. The angle that the way that he was introduced took me by surprise. Didn't quite see that coming. I thought there was going to be a more traditional Fagin to Solo's Oliver Twist positioning of the character, as we saw in that opening couple of minutes of the movie. Definitely. I love that the fact that we get an even more classic introduction, and that is, of course, what I thought was about to be a Rancor in one scene. So I'm not going to spoil it for you, but I thought that too. Yeah, yeah. No, but the kind of the visual symbology of that scene to Return of the Jedi. But speaking of Return of the Jedi, there was another visual reference to Return of the Jedi in Solo. Where's that? Beckett's uniform, his disguise on the castle.
Oh, yeah, the skiff guard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that.
That is brilliant. And, I mean, dare say that's been maybe kicking around in the Falcon for a while, and then, well, between, I suppose, the time of what was Shadows of the Empire, he's probably dug it out.
Well, yeah, some long-forgotten smuggling cargo hold that Han had just kind of pushed all of Lando's leftover stuff into. Oh, he'll pick this up one day.
Oh, yeah.
And then when Lando took charge of the Falcon again at the end of Empire, and he was rummaging around, and look, my dress-up box, fantastic.
I love it. You know, it sort of ties things together, in some ways that you wouldn't have even inspected, but it's really tight. At the same time, giving us a bit of room for, stuff to still be explored in subsequent sequels, if they haven't.
Yeah, well, just jump back to that previous point. How tight have they made it as Lucasfilm / Disney / whoever purposely put all of these Easter eggs and touch points and homages in just to make the fan base comfortable? You know, the old original trilogy fans and those who came along with Rebels. Is that what a lot of it's there for? Is it there just to tease us and yeah, they do get us, they get the fans? I don't know. That's the enthusiastic and the skeptic in me hasn't quite decided what the answer is yet. Yeah,
I think you got to put it yourself sometimes in their position. Which I've looked at, whether it's other franchises as well, and where they look at the actual diversity now in ages and different areas of fandom now too. They've got a hard job of trying to sell it to a much wider fan base than probably when we were growing up,
Yeah, no, true that. In Lord of the Rings, you haven't got any bigger marketable franchises that cross medias, do you?
Oh, 100%. Which, it's interesting. We're in a time where both franchises are about to launch their own live-action TV shows as well. So... because I remember reading, I think it was on darkhorizons.com, it's the Australian film news place, where they were talking about Peter Jackson was either going to choose to actually be involved in this new Amazon production, or whether he actually goes and starts doing DC superhero films, which I can't see him doing.
Oh, no, let's not. No.
Definitely not. But when
if he wants to get involved in the new Dread TV series, by all means, he has my blessings.
Oh my goodness! Now you're talking, and he's got to bring Carl along with him. Of course, you can't do it without Carl.
Oh, I believe Carl signed up. So
yes.
The production crew is Dread. Carl's involved. Budgets and green light for one series, material for a second series, and potentially third and fourth. But I think we got a 2-year wait to see season 1 come out.
Oh wow!
Touch wood.
Oh, it really is. I mean, that is a film that it came out in 2012 and got a really good run at the cinemas out here in Australia, especially down here on the Gold Coast. That was out almost as long as Avengers.
I remember going to see Dread at my local cinema in the daytime, and I wasn't the only one in there, so I knew just by that it was a hit.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's a tight little film. I mean, it's basically Die Hard in a skyscraper complex.
On the inside, not the outside.
Yeah.
Well, that wraps up episode 2 of The Fantha From Down Under, live from the Gold Coast in Australia. It's Adam O'Brien. I'm signing off for you. But go and check out Making Tracks. It is an amazing podcast with, of course, David Tree, our amazing video personality from YouTube. That's right, go and check it out. And also, of course, Mark Newbold hosting this great show, Making Tracks, where we get part 2 via chat with, of course, Gareth, the director of Rogue One, a Star Wars story. Go and check it out. I'm Adam O'Brien. We'll catch you next week on The Fantha From Down Under.